Yo, what is up guys, Grim here, and today's video I'm going to walk you through guys Memory of Chaos 10 and how I managed to defeat it with severely underleveled units. Now it goes without saying that I've got a pretty big roster here, but I figured you guys might be interested in seeing what the challenge that awaits you guys at the end of the game currently is going to be, and all of the cool things that you can do to really outplay the opponents and take advantage of everything on the table. So first and foremost, before we get into the gameplay and coverage, let's talk about the teams that are on use here. So I'm using two hypercarry teams, one focused on Yanqing and one focused on Seele. The hypercarry supports of choice are Tingyun for Yanqing, as it really does boost him up a lot, and Bronya for Seele, and you'll see why I use Bronya with Seele in a second here. And the healers of choice here are Natasha on Yanqing's team and Bailu on Seele's team. The reason that I set them up like this is that Natasha is by far the weaker of the two healers, so she is paired with the by far better tank, which is Japad. So overall, it kind of balances out. For the tanks, we have Japad on side 1, as I mentioned, because Natasha is the weaker healer, and Japad needs to go with Yanqing. And then we have Trailblazer Fire on team 2, alongside Bailu, because Trailblazer Fire is the weaker shielder, and Bailu is the stronger healer. Alright, so I'm zoning in here and we've got our first side here, our Yanqing side, and I'm using Yanqing's technique, Tingyun's twice, as well as Japad's, and I'm breaking for ice to go ahead and try and get a bit of a freeze on all the enemies and make sure I minimize any incoming damage and also give my units the most chance to act. I'm starting out here with the Tingyun ultimate on my Yanqing, and then I'm also going to bless him up, so he's going to be pretty enormous. Here, I'm going to prioritize freezing and breaking every unit on the field to mitigate as much damage as possible. So you can see there I go for one enemy, and then I'm going for the other one, and now all enemies on the field are frozen, and we even killed one to boot with Yanqing's massive ultimate. Here I'm just whittling down the next most threatening target, which is going to be the Incineration Shadewalker here. Their auto attacks are pretty enormous, and they also apply a burn 100% of the time on hit. The flame spawns, which you can see as well, actually do quite a lot of damage as well, but they're definitely not as much of a priority. Now you can see here that pretty much everything in this fight is going to hit my Japad, and the reason for that is because he does have a taunting Lightcone on him. So my Yanqing here is going to be doing pretty well, and you can also see here that I have quite a lot of skill points available to me right now, and that is because I am very carefully managing my Tingyun. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and we're going to clear out wave 1 pretty easily here. You can see just how hard my Tingyun gets hit when she does actually get hit, and that is a big reason why Japad is on the team, and he needs to be on the team. Alright, so we've got going into phase 2 with multiple ultimates up. This is definitely the beneficial scenario here. You can see here that I saved my ultimate so that I can get a really good advantage in phase 2 here. Right, so I think Tingyun here is probably going to be looking at not blessing here to convert skill points, because my Yanqing is only going to be taking one action before Tingyun gets to move again here, and we're going to be able to get a big freeze off here with Yanqing on this left side ad. We're going to go for the ads first in this scenario because they really do a lot of damage, and we're going to be getting a massive big Yanqing skill here as well. I believe I'm going to break the one on the right here to get a little bit more crowd control. You can really see ice coming in clutch here and being super duper strong for Yanqing. So Natasha here, whenever she has her ultimate available and it comes around as her turn, I generally always use it because I don't want to waste energy on her, and I was going to get a healer off there with my Tingyun. Now Japad, you always want to use at the very end of all of your character's turns to maintain as much shield as possible, so you can see that Japad was the last to move before the enemy moves, so that's why I popped his ultimate there, and it definitely does pay off in dividends here and give you a lot more shields on characters like your Yanqing, who definitely need to be shielded at all times. So you can see there Japad taking the punishment again. Definitely pulling in his work there. We should be able to take out both of these ads here. Yep, get a lucky proc on the follow-up, and then we also have Yanqing's ultimate now. But one thing I do want to point out here is I'm always going to save my carry's ultimates for when they get the Blessing of Amber boost here to really maximize the damage. So you can see there I'm going to go ahead and use my ultimate here on the robot, and that's because I don't want to waste overkill damage on the ad when I know I can just kill it with a skill. So getting as much damage in there on the robot as possible, also getting a lucky freeze there to mitigate some extra damage as well. So that's pretty good there. Alright, it's pretty much going to be a clear-cut victory now on this ad until we get to phase 2 here. It doesn't really do a whole lot when it's just by itself because I have Yanqing who's going to be perma-freezing it here. I'll just kind of like fast forward a little bit until the next wave because this one is definitely a bit of an easy one. Now that the ads are dead, it's just going to be management and making sure that I can save enough skill points and enter phase 2 with as much ultimates as possible. Alright, so here we are, we've almost killed the robot, and we will be transitioning into phase 2. And you can see here that I am specifically not using my ultimates here, I'm saving them all for the next phase because it is absolutely brutal the amount of damage that comes in. And the next phase is 2 fire golems. Now these fire golems have some pretty unique effects. They essentially will go berserk and continue to go even more berserk the longer you leave them in an unbreaked state. So what you're going to see me do here is always prioritize trying to juggle breaking them on and off while also trying to prioritize DPSing the one on the left here. And it's really important you get one of these down ASAP, otherwise you are going to get taken to Pound Town. I'll point out the berserk when you see it. The attack pattern is actually pretty interesting, and you guys are going to see that in a second here. Alright, so we're going to watch this flame golem here. We're going to be going ahead and activating the Shabbat ultimate here as well though, of course, because we've got to get that going there. But you can see that they use a basic attack and then they go into the flame state here, spontaneous combustion. And when they are in spontaneous combustion, their normal basic attack gets changed into a massive AoE that applies burn to everybody. You're about to see that. It's a lot of damage, and that burn can easily kill all of your units if you're not careful. And now you can see here, Natasha has 5 burns, Japad has 4 burns. It's a lot of damage coming in, and that is why I saved and pre-charged Japad's ultimate, because you can see I almost have it again, and I still have it a little bit on my allies as well. But you see that Natasha almost just lost half her health from those burns, and she had a bit of shield on her as well. So right now what I'm prioritizing is trying to make sure that I get both of them into break range so that I can break them as soon as I need. I know my Yanqing's turn is coming up. He's going to be using the ultimate on the right hand side one here, and then his skill on the left hand side one. So what I'm trying to figure out is whether or not I can break both of the golems this turn, or I can only break one. So here we're going to go ahead and break the left one. That's going to put us in safety zone. And then we're going to go ahead and break the right one, hopefully. Okay, so here I actually make an interesting decision. I actually decide to break the right one here and then use the ultimate on the left. And the reason I do that is because I'm trying to get as much damage on the left one as possible and have it die as fast as possible. So I did make a little bit of a break inefficient play there in favor of getting more damage on the left-hand side one here, which I actually think in hindsight was actually a really good decision. So we're going to go ahead and try and get a break here on this guy. We're taking massive damage here. You can see how Natasha almost died there. Definitely a bit risky there. But you know, she's got that E1 talent there, which is going to heal her back, and she's almost got the ultimate available. And we also have Japad coming in hot, which is going to have his ultimate accessible next turn as well. So you can see here as well, I'm making the decision, okay, do I break the right-hand side one or do I go for more damage here? I'm checking the buffs and all sorts of stuff like that, and I'm going to make the decision here that I'm going to go for damage, I think, on the left-hand side one, because the longer that you leave these two guys up alive, the harder and harder it becomes to survive, and the stickier and stickier the situation you get into is going to become. So we're going to go ahead and try and take out this left-hand side one. I'm not entirely sure. I think I'm going to probably be able to break the right-hand side one before it moves. I'm fairly certain. Yeah, it looks like it's moving after Natasha, so that's definitely happening. And we are also going to be having our Japad ultimate available here to protect our Yanqing as well. And that is really important. You'll notice that he actually does have a burn stack on him here. If I didn't have a Japad shield here, he would have burned and lost Soul Steel Sync and a massive amount of damage. So it's really good that I had the Japad ultimate there to protect Yanqing. Alright, so we got a big combo here coming up here. I believe I'm going to go ahead and try and tunnel this guy. Yeah, it looks like I'm just forgetting the right-hand one. I'm just going for damage and trying to kill one down, which, you know, I think is a pretty relevant decision here. This other guy on the right here is going to get a massive attack off. It's going to hit really hard. 6 burns on Natasha, and we're going to take even more burns here. That is looking pretty bad, but if I don't kill one immediately, I'm basically going to be dead. And you can really see that freezes here are really paying off in the long run. Not being able to freeze these guys would definitely make it a lot harder for my current team composition, because I'd be taking so many more burns and they'd be in spontaneous combustion for a much higher percentage of the time. So we're going to go ahead and get a break here with Japad, which is going to finally rip off those 3 attack buffs that it has. I believe it has 60% increased attack right now on top of the spontaneous combustion. So that's going to really be nice and be overall pushing the envelope here on the defense side of things. So definitely going to be breaking that, removing all those buffs. And we almost have the left one down here, which really is the bulk of the difficulty. But you can see that Natasha almost died there, so we're going to cleanse off that burn there. My Yanqing also is looking a bit rough. He lost his Soul Steel Sync there, but gained it back immediately. And Tin Yun is also looking pretty rough. And it's definitely a bit dangerous here because my Japad doesn't have his ultimate anytime soon, and neither does Natasha. So I'm kind of like banking on the fact that we can kind of like have Tin Yun not be hit here. If she is hit, she's going to die, but just thanks to Japad, you know, taunting, I've got a pretty good chance of not getting hit. So there goes one into Japad. Okay, that's pretty lucky, and a second one into Japad. So you can see really the tanks paying off here, really taunting those enemies there, and making sure that we're not going to be taking too much damage. And now my Natasha can get the heal in and get Tinyu out of the danger zone, and one of them should be pretty much dying here, as we are going to have a big Yanqing attack coming up here. So I'm actually in a bit of a difficult situation here. I only have one skill point, and I'm deciding whether or not to bless Yanqing, or I'm deciding whether or not to basic attack and not have the blessing. So I go for the blessing here, and the reason for that is I'm going to use a trick with Yanqing, which allows you to maintain Soul Steel Sync while actually using a basic attack. And it's basically if you use a basic and then use an ultimate straight after, you can maintain Soul Steel Sync. And that is the reason why I made the play with Tinyu. So now I'm down to just one golem that you have to deal with, and all my team is alive. I'm almost going to Japad ultimate up. It's basically easy mode from here. Just need to take him out and burn him down, because the 2 is the hard part. Having only 1, he's basically going to be permanently frozen and broken, so we don't really have to worry too much about anything. Now, this side is basically done for, and we have overcome the difficulty with using Japad, Natasha, and ensuring that we go with that easy break management there with Yanqing, and then making sure that we freeze. So on to side 2. Alright, side 2 is the Seele team, and we have to defeat a ton of ice-themed enemies. So we're going to go ahead and fully buff up here. We're using Trailblazer Fire, Bailu, and Bronya, and then we're using the stealth and entry of Seele here to get the quantum weakness, but also ensure that Seele enters in the buffed state. The reason we want this is so that we can get a bit of a kill streak going on here and try and mop up floor 1 without taking too much damage, because a lot of these enemies actually are really, really bad. We got 2 AoE enemies and a orb, which is going to buff everyone as well. The priority is definitely on killing the orb, as it is going to provide an infinitely stacking attack buff to everybody on the field. Now, those ice soldiers as well are also very, very dangerous, because the ally that they attack is going to go ahead and have their action reduced by like 50 action points every single time you are attacked. So whoever's getting attacked by that is basically not going to get to move very often. There you can see the attack boost. Now we are going to go ahead and prioritize that orb. We're going to kill it, and then the next priority is going to be the 2 AoE units, which are, just came out of break there, and then we're going to go for the ice soldier last. So what I'm trying to line up here is very specific, and I'm actually going to pause the video here in a second here to give you guys a bit of a lowdown. So this is something I do very often. So when I enter combat, everyone enters on 50% energy, and that's going to include Bronya and Seele. So when they enter though, they're both going to get, like, Bronya's going to get a basic, and then Seele is going to get a skill, and they're going to go up to the energy you see here. Now, the reason this is so powerful is that your turn gauge is generally going to look something like this. So it's going to go Seele, Bronya, and then it's going to go Bronya. And Seele generally won't get another action just because Bronya is the faster support, because she advances her action forward. So it's going to be like Seele once, and then Bronya twice, and then Bronya will be here in this cycle. So right now, what I want you to pay attention to is this turn gauge here. So Seele is right here. She is right beneath the 24. And when the 24 activates, it states that it's going to advance forward any hunt or erudition character, regardless of where they were. If Seele was down here, it would advance her all the way up to here. But because she's right here, it's only going to advance her 10 action points. That is not good. Now, the reason that Bronya is so good with Seele right now is because she can kind of cheese this to quite a specific degree. So what Bronya's going to do here is she's going to advance Seele up above the 24, and also going to give her a big buff with the advancement, and then Bronya's also going to get her ultimate here and activate that, and then Seele is also going to be in range of getting her ultimate as well, despite being advanced. Now, after the full kill streak is over, then the 24 will activate, and it'll tick over, and then Seele will get an additional action straight after that, which is massive tempo swing, and it's going to allow you to get so much single target damage, but also so much AoE potential, and you're about to see that unfold here. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to advance my Seele. I'm going to get the ultimate here, and I'm going to get a mega combo here, so you can see that she is now above the 24, and we are going to completely wipe house. Well, at least that's what I hope happens. Let's see what happens. I believe I don't actually kill this orb. I can't actually remember. Oh, it actually does die, so we do get resurgence. I wasn't expecting that, so I don't get the double resurgence combo, but it's fine because I do have the ultimate here. We should be able to wipe 3 of the 4 enemies just with Seele here, and then we do have the extra attack, which we're going to be getting because of the 24 here. So straight back up, and then we get another attack here, and you can see that the first wave is pretty much done and dusted thanks to that big combo that we just set up here. But I was going to go ahead and use the basic. I'm conserving that ultimate. I don't want to waste it because I know what's coming. Unfortunately, my Bailu does take the hit there, which is going to send her packing all the way back down below the cycle limit there. We're going to take out Seele, take out that here, and fortunately for us, we actually go into the next phase with the ultimate. Now, I'm going to use the ultimate to lead here because it is the Seele trick, and it gives you double resurgence procs over the fight. If you guys aren't sure about that, you can watch my Seele trick video. We're going to take out the orb there, first and foremost. That's big because it means there's not going to be any attack boost on any of these enemies, which is a really big deal. That's part of the reason that it was so good for me on this transition. But you can see here that the Ice Golem, similar to the Fire Golems, does have a pretty similar effect. So basically what this guy does is he's going to have a turn where he does a basic and then empowers himself, and then for all subsequent turns while he's empowered, he's going to spam an AoE Ice, like, freeze nuke. And it's really, really potent. So what you really need to do is prioritize breaking out this Ice Golem and juggling them similar to the Fire Golems, otherwise you're getting absolutely stomped. So you can see here I am prioritizing trying to get some break on him. And we're going to be trying to kind of do our best here. Fortunately for me, though, I am able to heal up most of what he's going to do with Bailu, just thanks to Invigoration. You'll see how potent that is going to be in a second here. But I really do have to place priority on these Ice Soldiers because they're making it so my team basically gets like nowhere near as many actions as they should. So I'm going to basically throw the fridge at them, throw the kitchen sink at them until they die, so I can ensure that I'm getting all the actions that my team should be, and they're not pushing my actions down every single time they attack. So we get a lucky crit there. Well, not lucky. I mean, I guess I have a 60% chance of getting that crit, but it definitely felt pretty lucky for me. And now they're well within like full sweeping range of Seele. You can see that I'm going to get a basic attack here on the right one, get a reset, kill the one on the left, and then I'm going to get some break on the Ice Golem. Unfortunately, the Ice Golem is probably going to get off a big AoE attack, but we do still have Invigoration on the majority of our team, so we should be pretty good. So yeah, not too bad there. Invigoration pretty much tops everyone back up. We also do have Trailblazer Fire's ultimate here to reapply shield, which will also be quite nice as well. And we're for sure going to break them this cycle as well, so they're not going to be having any ice storms anytime soon. So now what we're going to be thinking about is, okay, it's by itself. What we need to do is prepare the ultimates for the next round, which is going to be Cocolia and another Ice Golem at the same time. So that's what I'm in the thinking mode of now. Cycles isn't going to be a problem. We still have 22 left. So what I'm looking for here is making sure I don't die, but also enter phase 3, which is the hardest one, with as many ultimates as I possibly can. So we're going to go ahead and fast forward to phase 3, because it's just one enemy left. It's not really too threatening. And it's basically going to be permanently broken, and there's not going to be too much to deal with. Alright, here we are on the last leg. So we've got most of our ultimates available here. My Bailu is a little bit low. I'm going to try and fix that here, I think. And then we're going to try and take out the Ice Golem. We've got 18 cycles left for Cocolia, who is the last enemy here. We are going in with basically all the ultimates up. I do believe my Trailblazer Fire is going to use their ultimate here to try and, just take this guy out, get him out there. I believe that's what happens. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I'm going to just pop the Trailblazer Fire here. I think, maybe I don't even do that. Maybe I just go in with 4 ultimates. It does look like we are going to go in with 4 ultimates, actually, which is, very, very good. That's what we want. And the reason you want to go in with 4 ultimates is so that you can start out the fight with a massive amount of break bar on the Ice Golem. If you take any amount of attacks with the Ice Golem using an Ice Storm, with Cocolia, it's going to be pretty tough. But you can see here that we're really whittling down the Ice Golem already. He's not going to have much break bar, and when he goes into Berserk mode here, coming up, it's not going to be a big deal. And we also do have a lot of damage on the team here, but because we have Bailu's ultimate, we're not really going to be too worried about that. We're going to be able to top everyone up, and we're also going to get that Invigoration to protect everyone for the following turn. So that's going to be pretty nice as well. So here, I believe we're just going to go ahead and pop the ultimate and make sure that we're not wasting any energy on Bronya, and then we're going to go for a basic attack. I can't see why I would want to boost here in this situation. So yeah, we're going to... I'm actually going to boost. That's interesting. Yeah, I don't think that's actually the right place. So I think I am just going to go for the basic here. I think I'm considering it. I don't know why I was doing that, but yeah, going to go ahead and go for the basic. Going to get a bit of break on Cocolia as well. There's basically no way we're not breaking that Ice Golem before it's its next turn, so that's definitely not a concern. It's just going to be about maximizing damage on the Ice Golem to try and get it down as fast as possible, because managing it with Cocolia at the same time can be a little bit stressful, unless you have quite a lot of defense and gear on your healer. Now, our Bailu is probably one of my most geared units though, so it is definitely a little bit less stressful. But you definitely do want to take it down as fast as possible. You can see that Invigoration definitely putting in work there, making it so that attack barely did anything. So getting a bit of break there, getting the shields back as well. Definitely going to go for the boost here to abuse that cycle kind of limit there with Seele and Bronya. That's going to come up a lot in your guys' playthroughs if you have these 2 units. So getting the double attack there, nice and easy. And we do also have the Seele ultimate up for when the Golem recovers. So he's basically never going to be getting an Ice Storm off because we've just got Seele to break him pretty much every single time. Looks like the footage here is a little bit frozen. There we go. All right, so he's back in his Berserk mode here, but we're going to easily be able to break him out. Now, Cocolia here is entering her charged up state. This thing is absolutely no joke, but I basically have no chance of breaking her out and making sure I can manage the Ice Golem at the same time. So I'm prioritizing the Ice Golem. I need to kill that, otherwise I'm going to be in serious trouble. So I'm going to come up with a way to tank Kokolia's big Ice Storm. It does about 2,200 damage to my entire team, and it does pretty much almost one-shot my Seele. But you'll see here that we do have some ways to mitigate that and manage it. We just need to make sure that we're on top of that. And I believe what the play is actually going to be here is to, I think I'm just going to tank actually the Kokolia here. I'm pretty sure that what I try and do in most scenarios when Kokolia's Ice Storm is coming in is I try and use the Fireman character Taunt. So it looks like I'm going to actually boost Seele here to use and abuse the kind of extra turn cycle limit here. I'm not 100% sure exactly what my decision ends up being, because I'm trying to weigh up whether or not I can survive the Ice Golem Ice Storming, heal it back, and then actually have a chance at dealing with Kokolia right after. So it looks like I decide to go ahead and boost up Seele. I think I'm contemplating whether or not I can actually get a break on the Ice Golem. I'm not 100% sure what I was thinking. I think I was being super indecisive because there was two big AoEs coming in. You can see here that my Seele is basically almost dead. So it's going to be pretty touch and go whether or not I live or not. But you can see I get my Bailu ultimate just in time. I think I must have mapped that out. But yeah, it looks like we're looking pretty good. The Ice Storm is going to come in. It's going to be pretty terrifying. But overall, we will survive thanks to the invigoration there. You can see that it barely brings my Seele back up to 632 life. Now we're in a pretty rough situation, but we're going to be able to get back out of it, thankfully, thanks to a bit of healing. So what I'm thinking about here is definitely how can I heal back? How can I stabilize? I think what I'm going to go for probably is going to be a basic into Bronya boost on Bailu and heal my Seele. I'm pretty sure there's no other option for me here. If my Seele dies, the run is basically bricked. I think I'm considering my options here, but that's basically the only play I can see here from like kind of a spectator point of view. So I'm going to use Bronya's ultimate here to get a bit of extra damage and make sure that I don't waste it when I'm going to be boosting next turn. But there's basically no way I can break this Ice Golem, I don't believe. I mean, I think I'm going to use the ultimate here to break it, actually. Yeah, that's actually it. So basic into ultimate, boost with Bronya, and then heal with Bailu is going to be the play, I think, here, which is what it's looking like. Yeah, it's got to be that. And then heal my Seele to ensure that I survive whatever Kokolia is going to throw at me. It's kind of just insurance. She doesn't actually end up going for Seele, but she goes up for my Trailblazer Fire because, you know, Trailblazer Fire does have the Taunt Lightcone on them. But now I'm going to be getting probably a little bit more damage on the Ice Golem. I think I'm considering whether or not I should get Kokolia into break range, but I do really need to kill that Ice Golem because it's dealing so much damage to my team. So we do have the Trailblazer Fire ultimate and empowered basic here, which is a ton of fire break, which is going to give me a lot of options here. Who to use it on, the Ice Golem or Kokolia? I believe I do go ahead and try and use it on the Ice Golem to ensure that I can break him if I need to. And Seele is going to probably getting at least one more turn, so I think that we are going to have a pretty good chance of survival here. It is definitely going to be a bit touch and go. I actually am going to take another Ice Storm here, I think. So I think I'm now thinking again about what can I heal with Bailu? You know, I think I'm going to use a heal with Bailu again. Yep, top everyone off. Those are some pretty good bounces. Everyone is now full and ready to tank the Ice Golem. That big Ice Storm is going to come in. We do now also have our Bailu ultimate, which is going to be pretty nice as well. I'm not sure whether or not I pop it immediately. I think I might, but I might also be saving it. I'm not 100% sure. But the Ice Golem here is going to be broken, I believe. Actually, I'm going to go for the break on Kokolia, I think, to really interrupt that big Ice Storm. Yep, that makes sense. Break Kokolia out, stop that big AoE ultimate coming in. And now we're going to use the Bailu ultimate so that we don't waste any energy on the basic attack here. That definitely makes a lot of sense as well. And here, now we just need to kill and finish off this Ice Golem, and then it's basically going to be smooth sailing because Kokolia by herself is easier than anything with the Ice Golem. So that's going to be a pretty good one as well. Yep, looks like we're going to be... I think I'm contemplating whether or not I boost and buff because I have so many things lined up. But I think what I'm going to do here is a skill and then straight into ultimate to finish off the Ice Golem. That probably is going to be the play here. Yep, straight into it. And it should deal pretty much enough damage to kill here on the Ice Golem. And then it's just Kokolia by herself. Oh, it actually doesn't kill. That is unlucky. I didn't get a crit. Definitely unlucky there. But I think that we should be able to pretty much finish off that Ice Golem, no worries, in the cycle that is coming. And then it's just going to be dealing with Kokolia's big AoEs and managing my team's cooldowns to make sure that I don't die randomly from any of Kokolia's abilities. So this should be the Ice Golem dead. There it goes. And that basically marks the end of the fight, as it's just Kokolia by herself now. That's not going to be too much to manage. And all we need to do is survive this next attack, and we can pretty much fully stabilize, and there's basically no way that we can lose. So here I actually boost my Trailblazer Fire to be extra safe, and I'm basically going to take reduced damage because of that, and my entire team isn't going to get completely nuked like they normally are. So you can see my Seele survived here with 1,000 life instead of like the 200 or something she had before. So overall, this is going to be the fight. I'll fast forward guys to the end so I can save you guys a bit of time. Basically, we take her out though, nothing to worry about there. You can see I was never really at risk after the Ice Golem died. And Cocolia will eventually go down, and we do clear Memory of Chaos 10. And that's it. That's all there is to it. So what I'm going to do, guys, is now go over my character's gear so you guys can see the gear that I used to kill her and take her down. Alright, last but not least, I'll take you guys through the characters which I use so you guys can get a bit of a reference for the power level that they are at. So Yanqing here is using his signature cone at level 70 at Superimposition 1, and he is Eidolon 0 as well, so you don't really need any Eidolons on him. They are good, but you don't need them. He's got crit cap, which is about 22% for Yanqing at my gear level, and he's also got some crit damage, and I've got him with 140 speed. The reason I have so much speed on him is so that he can break ice and make sure that he can deal with all of the ice weakness enemies and ensure that we get those break bars done. Otherwise, we're going to be in deep trouble if we cannot get those break bars on those fire golems, as you guys could see. He's got attack on everything, and his set that he's using is the Wildweed set and the Space Stealing Station set. So his attack is actually even higher than this when you get into battle. Seele is using rainbow sets. I couldn't get enough gear for her, unfortunately, so I gave all the good gear to Yanqing because she is the stronger of the two characters. Overall, she does have a quantum sphere though, so that is definitely pretty nice that I did end up getting that for her. She is E2, so she is definitely a bit higher investment there, and she is using her signature Lightcone at S1 in the night at level 70 here as well. Both of the carries are level 70, and both of their traces are about as maxed out as I could possibly get them. The only thing which isn't maxed out is going to be the talent, because, you know, it's just marginal increases overall, but all of the rest of the stuff is maxed out. So the two carries are both pretty much as smashed up as you could get at this point, I think, for a player who has had the RNG that I've had. So those are the carries. I've invested as much as I can into them to get the damage where I need to get them. Alright, next up is the tanks. So I've tried to spread out the gear on the tanks a little bit because you do need both of them to be strong, otherwise you're going to get absolutely bopped. As you guys can see, the damage that comes in is pretty crazy. So Japard is using his signature, and the reason for that is that if there is ever an event in which Japard is not the target and Yanqing is, it's a wipe. Yanqing getting hit by any big attack is basically just straight up an L, so Japard has to be the target, so I gave him the stronger taunting and defensive light cone. In addition to that, I would say overall Japard has to carry a little bit harder on the side he's on because Natasha is the substantially weaker healer. So that's why Japard has that. He's got a full set of pretty high investment shielded gear. I needed to get the defense up, and I prioritized that overall. So that's what we've gone with there. He is at E0, of course, and his light cone is at S1. Trailblazer of Fire here is using Landau's Choice, another taunting light cone. You guys saw how much work that put in. He got targeted a lot, despite not even using the taunt. Level 60 though, not ascended, I believe. So overall, that could definitely be improved as well. Traces on both Japard as well as Trailblazer of Fire are not leveled because I didn't have enough materials. Both these characters are also at level 60, but I did send them, and they are, you know, obviously without Eidolons. So Trailblazer of Fire also has similar investment in terms of their relics. I have really doubled down on the shielders as I needed them to be strong, otherwise I would be really struggling. So that's going to be my two shielders there. The healers are actually two that I invested quite a lot in, not necessarily in the relic department, but in the trace department, because they needed to be strong. They needed to be able to top everyone up after those massive AoE attacks. Otherwise, I was going to be screwed. So Bailu is probably the healing character which I invested the most in because she did have to go with Trailblazer of Fire, which was the weaker of the two shielders. So she needed to be able to heal everybody up and really take advantage of that invigoration as well as those bounces. So here she is, Eidolon 0, no Eidolons there, and her light cone is at Superimposition 1. I actually do have a second one of this, but I decided not to superimpose it to try and make it at least somewhat relatable so you guys can kind of get an idea of the power level of these characters without, you know, high superimposition levels or Eidolons. So overall, that is Bailu. She is using quite a lot of, you know, kind of HP scaling gear. I really wish that I did have an outgoing healing chest on her, but she doesn't have that, unfortunately. So she could be healing a lot more than she is right now, but alas, I wasn't able to get that lucky. So yeah, we got over here. Got some pretty good stats there. The main thing which I want to bring to you guys' attention here is that so far every single unit on my team has over 120 speed. That is not by coincidence. Yes, it activates the set bonuses, which is really, really good, but also it gives you a lot more opportunity to break enemies in time and make sure that they're not going to be doing their massive AoE blast attacks on you, which is a big form of damage mitigation in the endgame. So I definitely recommend speed, even if it doesn't calc the best in a spreadsheet, even though it does calc pretty damn well. It will give you a lot more chance and opportunity to break enemies, and I think that that is definitely at least something worth investigating for your own account. So that's going to be Bailu. She is definitely pretty reasonably geared there, apart from the outgoing healing chest. Natasha is substantially less geared. She only has 3.3k life versus Bailu 6. She is using Quid Pro Pro, and the reason for that is that the energy recharge on that team is very important. The Yanqing has 140 energy cost on his ultimate, so he definitely needs all the energy he can get. Any energy that goes to Tinyun is going to be sent to Yanqing by proxy, so if it goes on her as well, it's going to be good. That's Quid Pro Pro, who gives random energy to everyone. And then if it goes in Japad, that's good as well, because that's more defense for my team and more shields, which I would always be happy to have anyway. So I'm very happy with Quid Pro Pro. The other person who has killed MSC 10 in the Discord server, which I'm a part of, which you guys can join if you're interested in theory crafting, I was actually using the Cornucopia, I believe, which is advanced action forward on the healer to get more actions, more break, and more skill points for their Yanqing. Both of the options are good. In addition to that, a healing Lightcone would also be good, but I went with Quid Pro Pro, and I do not regret my option. In terms of Eidolons, my Eidolons are actually E6 on this character because I did pull on Seele. I think a lot of people actually have this at least some level of Eidolons. So I think that, Natasha is a pretty good healer, and if you do have some Eidolons for her, that's going to be pretty nice as well. The Lightcone is S3, but this is a free-to-play Lightcone. You guys can get that as well. The Traces are all pretty low level, but, they are a little bit higher because she is at E6. In terms of the relics, we do, of course, have, the General Affair here, and she does have 120 speed. Now, in terms of the supports, these are my most undergeared characters, and one of the biggest issues I was having was with my supports dying constantly. So what I actually did is go ahead and prioritize defense on my supports. And you will notice that Bronya specifically, because she's not paired with Japad, needed to be particularly thick, and she is particularly thick. So she has 2,800 HP, which is almost as much as my Natasha, and she has 1.2k defense. And this is not a mistake. I had to give her up this way, otherwise she was going to die, and I needed to ensure that my Bailu could save her battle res for Seele if she went down. And that didn't actually end up happening in my final attempt on MSC 10, but if it did happen, I would have wanted that to be saved for Seele and not for Bronya. So I decided to make my Bronya a Giga Tank. And that worked out quite well for me, especially in other floors where the damage was even scarier. I'm not regretting that decision at all. In future, I'll obviously gear her for damage, but right now she is geared for tanks because I needed the tankiness, otherwise I wasn't going to be able to clear it. So that is Bronya. She's got 122 speed. Her relics are pretty much complete dog. So, nothing good there. She doesn't even have a leveled planisphere, so not the best there. But overall, she did the job and she was able to pull out the stops. In terms of traces, basically none of them are leveled. The only one I went for was the defense so that I could survive those first turn big damage spikes. She is E1, and it is a reasonably impactful Eidolon. It will give you some extra skill points. It is what it is. Overall, I did pull 2 Bronyas, and that's just how it is, unfortunately. So I do have E1 Bronya. You guys can, post your whale emojis in the comments down below. All right, last but not least is going to be Tinyun, E0 Tinyun here. Tracer's not leveled at all, pretty much just the 2 blessing ones here. And we do have some pretty okay relics on Tinyun, and the reason that Tinyun needed a bit more investment is because she needs to get a certain amount of attack to activate her benediction and blessing. If you're interested in that, you can check out my Tinyun guide. I go into depth on it, but overall that was actually something that I needed to prioritize to make sure my Yanqing was doing enough damage. So we do have some pretty good attack on her, not enough to cap the buff. Unfortunately, she would need a lot more attack, but it is good enough that she gets most of the benefit out of it. Again, she does have some pretty good speed. Specifically, Tinyun has the most speed out of all my units, and that is because she is paired with my Yanqing, who has a lot of speed as well. So I needed enough speed on this character here in order to fuel my Yanqing and get the enough freezes so that I could deal with all of the scary fire enemies that were on offer. In addition, my Natasha also has more speed than my Bailu, and that is again because I need as much speed as possible to get as much freeze as possible to make sure that I do not die. In addition to that, here we've got the Dance 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 Lightcone on my Tinyun to again accelerate even further to get more freezes and outpace the enemy even more so that I do not die. This Lightcone, in my opinion, is pretty underrated, and it actually works even better than we thought it did. You guys can check my Tinyun guide in the pinned comment. It actually explains something pretty interesting if you guys are interested in that as well. So overall, Dance Dance Dance, very, very good, don't regret it at all, and it is actually ascended as well because my Tinyun needed a little bit more life, and that is why I did ascend that. So overall, those are my teams, guys. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed this breakdown, and you guys are excited to get to MOC 10 yourself. It was a complete blast actually doing it, and it was actually quite exhilarating getting all of the things just right, and doing it with such an undergeared team. Overall, I expect that once people get to higher levels, they're probably going to be able to drop some of the defense that I got on some of these characters, but for the most part, I'm pretty happy with the levels on the units that I picked, and I definitely don't regret anything, and I think that I will continue to level all these units, and maybe just add in one extra, which is going to be Jin Yuan, for some of those pesky lightning enemies, which my characters, which currently are on my roster, can't really deal with very effectively. Hope you guys do enjoy this video, and if you guys learned something new, make sure to subscribe to the channel, as we're always trying to put more content out, and of course, course, if you like this one specifically, make sure to give it a thumbs up. It really helps me out. And until next time, hope you guys enjoyed. Cheers.